Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's very easy to do that. In fact, that is the easiest. And that is the most natural, and that is the original way of learning. The Prophet ﷺ, the namaz, it is a prayer, salah, it is a principle of Islam, correct? But when the Prophet ﷺ was teaching namaz, all he said to his Sahaba Kiram was what? Pray as you see me pray. He didn't try to tell them first what is the sunnats and what's the farz of prayer. He didn't tell them the fiqh of prayer. Very simple, he said what? Pray as you see me pray. So now you have to watch, you have to observe, you have to use your what? Intelligence. Not memorizing, but intelligence. Watch and observe. Ask yourself those questions, and once you have this taqlid, imitation of the best, slowly the color of the best is also going to overtake you. Because he is the most greatest what? Example. He is an example. And for the believer, it is not to understand that is the most important. It is to what? To hear and to obey. Because there's no guarantee once you understand that you're going to obey. Is there a guarantee? In fact, so many people, the ones they understand, they don't want to do it. Or they say, I want to understand, but they don't want to understand. It's just a trick for them because they don't want to do it. They start arguing, debating, questioning over and over again. So Surah Al-Baqarah, the last ayat, a couple of ayats of the Surah Al-Baqarah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed directly to the Holy Prophet ﷺ in the Mi'raj, the ayat of Amana Rasul, that modern day Muslims, especially those Muslims who say we believe only in Quran, not hadith, not riwayat, not shaykh, not this, not that, only in Quran, because everything else is the word of man. But the Quran is the word of Allah. The Quran is in Arabcha. Arabcha is something else. The Quran is in the Quranic Arabic language. The Rab language is something else. Don't mistake the two. Anyway, last I saw, the Quran is in the language of mankind, isn't it? Is it the language of Allah? It's the language of mankind. Mankind, but not the language of mankind too. Not the words of mankind, but it came through the mouth of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So, the ayat of Amana Rasul, very important. And those ones who are saying only Quran first, nothing else, they have their own weird idea, weird code, weird numbers, weird this, weird that they take from weird places. They say certain things, they don't fit into the Quran. Certain ayats, they don't fit into the Quran. We have to throw them out. They find their own excuse. Oh, this ayat was put here, put there. In fact, if you say an ayat, you don't believe in one ayat of the Quran, you don't believe in the whole Quran, and you don't believe that Allah is protecting it, you are out of Islam. They especially don't like the ayat of Amana Rasul. And the other ayat that they don't like is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loving and praising the Prophet and calling him, giving him the titles of Rauf and Rahim. Two sifats, that is ilahiyat sifat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the Prophet ﷺ. That's why one of the names of in the Dalil Sharif is Sayyidina Rauf, Sayyidina Rahim. Understand? So that other ayat is laqad ja'akum, which is very famous and very important, especially tasawwuf in Ahli Sunnat way. They say throw it out. So now, in that ayat of Amana Rasul, it is saying, Sami'na wa ta'na ghufranaka rabbana wa ilaykal masir. We hear and we obey. Who is saying that? The prophets are saying that. The Salihin, they are saying that. Because when you have manners, when you observe, you are not fighting. You are just going along with it. You are submitting your will. You think by submitting your will, by not fighting, not resisting, you are not going to understand. You will understand. You understand more. Because what you're going to understand is what is given to you. You're not going to understand what is in your head. Do you understand? You're going to understand that time what is the will of Allah. You're not going to understand according to your own ego. To learn manners, we have to be people who have manners. Once you have manners, more than ilm is going to come to you. The person who takes the Quran Kareem, picking it up from the floor, like today. That's why the awliya Allah, our sheikhs, they are not so impressed. What, today they have millions of hafiz of the Quran. So what? We've seen hafiz of the Quran going up to discos, jumping up and down to bars, doing so many things. Hafiz, the one who protects the Quran. Why? Because there's no respect. And this modern technology, when there's not the will of Allah, so the khilafat that is controlling it, everything just goes to an extreme. And there is no respect. They're printing the Qurans now. They're saying this bid'ah, to even talk, to even say, Mawlud, Mubarak, it is a bid'ah, can lead you to kufr. To even give sweets, candy to people, to children, they say it will lead you to kufr. To even recite the sijara, the history, the Siratul Nabi, will lead you to kufr. To recite salawats and to sing and qasidas, they will lead you to kufr. All these things will lead you to kufr. MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. That is what our Shaykh is teaching us, manners. When the azan is being called, Allahu Akbar, you stand up. Shaykh Effendi, Shaykh Maulana, when the Prophet ﷺ's name is being recited, they stand up. Whatever ilm or milm or manners or whatever that you have, everything is just a way to reach to Allah, correct? For Allah to favor you. It is a way. And the ilm will make you to reach to Allah faster, will make Allah to love you faster. Because when you're doing manners, when you're understanding manners and when you're following the manners, you're following the one who is the best of manners. But when you're trying to understand ilm, especially in these days where the ilm is corrupt, is usually coming from a corrupt alim. That even if they're teaching something good, some way, somehow, the system is corrupting it. You see, in reality, in the old days, you don't pay your imam. There's no council paying the imam to speak what they want him to speak. The imam is not there getting a salary. The imam is independent. The believers, they help him, but he's standing alone. He doesn't answer to anyone except to Allah. The scholars, they don't answer to anyone except to Allah. They don't answer to regimes. They don't answer to a board of directors made up by doctors. They don't answer to anything. But in these days, it's different. In these days, every scholar is running to do just like in the West. If you're a scholar, you're not a real scholar until you do what? Huh? Until you publish. Correct. Until you publish a book. That's the time you're a real scholar. Until you are in Barnes and Noble, that's the time you're a scholar. Before, you're not a scholar. So we're talking about the Quran Karim. They're saying everything is bid'at, but they're printing the Quran. The Quran now becomes cheaper than a newspaper. They grab it like a newspaper. If they see you holding on to the Quran, for example, and you're doing this, they say, bid'ah. Kullu shirk. They're going to say, because you what? You're worshipping to the book. But it is in our culture, isn't it? Whatever we love, we do that. But they say that is bid'at, but if you open the book that is printed there, first thing you're going to see, printed in Saudi Arabia, with the permission of authority of King blah 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 blah. They're going to say, correct? That is not bid'at. In the pages of the Mus'haf to put that. I thought it's supposed to be only the words of Allah. Look at the old Quran. Old Quran, it's not even printed. Everything has to be handwritten. Not by people, by holy people, by salihin, by saints. That when you look at the book, something hits you. You hold it, something hits you. We have a very rich tradition. It's becoming very cheap. Quran, they're leaving on the floor. They're just grabbing it like that. And they're just reading it like that. What kind of blessing is going to reach to you now? It's going to reach to you doing that. Reading the Quran, lying down on the floor. I don't mind so much Arabs doing it because they lost themselves some time ago. What I don't understand, for example, I get very upset when I see Africans doing it. They have such good manners, those ones from Africa, because they are holding on to tariqat and authority and the love of the Prophet ﷺ very strong. But anyone who becomes Wahhabi, they become the worst. I don't understand. Shaykh Effendi is saying, he saw Turks sitting around and putting their feet to the Qibla in the Haram Sharif. And he said, you don't even do this in Turkey. But because you see all this wrong ones doing it and you're doing it, you have no shame. We are all guilty of it. I'm not saying we are better. We all have done it, but we are learning. So if you don't have manners before the ilm, if you don't have submission before the ilm, if you don't say sami'na wa ta'na, then to say ghufranaka, I hear and I obey and forgive me, Ya Rabbi. If you don't do that, you'll become exactly like shaitan. Because shaitan put his ilm before manners. Manners is to say sami'na wa ta'na, I hear and I obey. He put his ilm before manners. Maybe your ilm is saying something else, but you see everyone is doing, everyone is good, everyone is high level, and they're all doing that. Why not to do it too? Like today is Wednesday, but have to be different. So how are you going to put now the manners before the ilm? In the old days, that's why you enter to tariqat, and the first thing they ask you when you enter into tariqat, whatever ilm you have, throw it to garbage. And they're saying that to the top level scholars. Shamsi Tabriz, Hazratleri said that to Maulana Rumi. You have to throw all of that out. Aziz Mahmud Huday, Hazratleri, a huge scholar, says now you have to put everything aside. Everything that is going to bring, any ilm that is going to bring you arrogance and stubbornness and proudness, throw it aside. If you have all this ilm and you're not learning manners, you're not learning humility, you're not learning to be humble, you're not learning to be zero, that ilm is going to take you to Jahannam. Wasn't it Imam Malik who said that? If it wasn't for the years that he spent. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam al-Azam, he's saying, if it wasn't, Imam Malik said, nothing is going to bring you to more confusion than the study of the hadith. Imam Abu Hanifa is saying, if it wasn't because of the few years that I spent with the people of Tasawwuf, I was going to be lost. And this is the one that the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba Kiram, they praise him. So, you need to be around people who have manners. It's not something that you just academically you're going to learn or you're going to read. You can pick up one risalat of adab written 500 years ago. You cannot learn anything. Because his religion, like the prophets and like the martyrs, it is fresh and it is alive. It is not a museum religion. It is fresh and it is alive. So you need to find those ones. You need to be under them. You need to follow what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Be with the salihin and you will learn. We have found our Shaykh and we're still continuing to be with him. And we're still learning. We have a very long way to go. We're still learning every day. We're not claiming anything. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our weak service and to forgive us. Al-Fatiha.